Record it. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? I'm so excited to be coming to you from Mexico. That's why I don't have my normal background that I have. I've actually been working here every morning, and I was working from here this morning with my group of ladies. And I'm excited to have Nicole with us because she is near and dear to my heart with self-defense, which is a big thing for me. I've taken a lot of self-defense. I've taught some self-defense to young girls. I just feel like it's very important for us to empower other women to understand how to stay safe, right? Especially traveling. So Nicole, welcome this morning and being spotlighted on our Member Monday Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Colleen. It is such a pleasure to be here with you and with everyone. I think you are near and dear to my heart as well. So I am just so grateful to be here.
It's great. So talk to us about how you got into self-defense, why it's so important to you, what you're doing now to empower other women and younger girls about self-defense. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I got into self-defense because I wanted women to feel safe just going about and living their lives. I wanted them to feel empowered to do the things they wanted to do without living in a world that constantly limited them. I myself am a survivor of violence and abuse, and I don't want anyone else to experience what I did. And I want those who have experienced violence to know that healing and recovery is possible, and that it is possible to take back your sense of control and power in the world, and that learning some simple tools like self-defense gives you can help you feel empowered to be able to do that. And I teach kids, I teach teens, adults, I teach women primarily, but I also open it up and teach people of all genders because I feel like everyone can benefit from this. But I take a very empowerment based approach. I don't give women a list of do's and don'ts of what to do. I give them very simple and practical skills that puts the power back in their hands of how to defend themselves and to feel confident that we are capable of it. There's so many messages out there that tell women that we aren't safe by ourselves. We have to constantly rely on someone else to save us and protect us, and that we're weak and we don't have a lot of power, and all of these negative messages. And I like just taking them and just breaking them down one at a time and flushing them down the toilet where they belong, because that's exactly where all of those myths belong, is in the trash, because they're not true. And when I can teach a woman how her body is so powerful, and that she has the capacity and the ability and the permission to defend herself, not just with physically, but with her voice and with her body language and all the other things that I teach. When I see that moment when she really believes it, or when I get messages from people saying that now they feel confident taking that solo trip, or now they feel more empowered to be able to go and take a solo hike, or even go to the grocery store by themselves. I actually had a woman that just said that she felt unstoppable after one of my courses. And I was just, when I hear things like that, it just makes me so happy, because that's why I do this work, is I want everyone to feel that way.
Yeah, let's talk about that, feeling unstoppable. So what you're doing is, by teaching women these specific skills, right? These self-defense skills, is you're giving them confidence in themselves to be able to protect themselves. So women should never feel unsafe if we're going to the grocery store, or traveling by ourselves, or whatever it may be that we're doing, or even if we're walking across a parking lot, by ourselves. We should never feel unsafe. So it's a mind shift, but it really is about understanding the skills, right? And so the lack of the confidence comes from not understanding what to do in a situation. So talk a little bit more about how you're instilling and helping women with that confidence by teaching them specific skills.
I think you really hit it right on the head when you said feeling like they don't know what to do. That's where it really all comes from, is that fear of, if XYZ happens, I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not going to have the skills to be able to protect myself. I am going to feel helpless. And it's that feeling of helplessness that leads to the feelings of constant fear, and the feelings of being, worried wherever we go, plus all the societal messages. And what I teach is, I teach simple skills, and I pride myself on giving women options because we're all different. We all are going to have different levels of comfort. Some women may never feel comfortable hiking by themselves or traveling solo, and that's fine. That's just as valid as someone who wants to do it. But for them, maybe it's just feeling more confident inside. And so when we know that we have options, when we know that there are choices that we can make and things we can do in addition to maybe what we've always done before, now maybe we have some additional tools for our toolbox that can give that sense of confidence. I mean, there are still times when, I might go somewhere and I might, start assessing my situation, but that's part of it. It doesn't mean, when you learn self-defense, it doesn't mean we throw ourselves head first into the most dangerous situation saying, well, I know self-defense.
That's true. We don't. So
No.
when you know self-defense, because it's not a secret that, a lot of people know that I'm a first-degree black belt. And with becoming that, you are taught a lot of skills on, not like you said, assessing your surroundings. So part of that is being aware, just being aware of your surroundings. And part of that is also making the smart choices to, it's probably not the best thing for me to walk across that parking lot late at night if I'm the only one out here, right? And I don't have anything to, other than my hands, right, to protect myself. Maybe that's not the best decision I need to make for myself in this moment, and I should have parked a little bit closer to a building or whatever it may have been. That's part of self-defense. So it's knowing. So it's having the knowledge, right? So it's knowing, it's assessing your situation and not putting yourself, like you said, head on in bad situations. I guess I would use that word again, or making sure that you're being smart about traveling, about being by yourself, about, always knowing your surroundings, and, just not being distracted constantly, I think is the other thing. And just being, and not hiding your head in a hole, right? So not saying, oh, well, if I don't pay attention to that sound or the person following me, they'll leave me alone. Well, that's not always the case. And it's not always the extreme cases where someone's, following you or gonna do harm to you. It could be just a situation where you just need to be a little bit more aware of what's happening around you with, for the safety of you. And even if you're with 3 other ladies, I think of, if girls are together and, or women are together and they're going on a, Mexico vacation like I'm on, or if they're going to the movies together, or they're going out to dinner or bar together, they have to be watching out for each other, because something could be going on, with someone putting something in their drinks, or if one of them goes off by themselves and we're not paying attention. We can be smart and stay in groups rather than going off by yourself in a situation like that, or, in another country, or being unsafe, so a lot of it's just making those decisions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is being aware of your environment and making the best decisions that you can in the moment. And I want to say something to clarify what I said earlier about, like, I don't want people to like fling themselves headfirst into a situation they know is dangerous. Like if they say, that's a really dark alley, I'm gonna do a shortcut through there. I mean, maybe that's not the best idea, but maybe your car broke down in a neighborhood you're not familiar with, and you have to walk through that alley to get to whatever. Like, you may find yourself in situations that are less than ideal that you have no control over. It doesn't mean it's your fault if violence happens. It means that if we have some skills to know that, okay, I have the skill set to be able to address this in the best way that I can, that's something that can give us confidence. And violence, unfortunately, can happen anywhere. It's not just the bad, the quote unquote bad neighborhoods, or, sometimes like when people travel, they say, oh, well, I'm going to avoid this or that. It's like, well, that doesn't necessarily guarantee your safety either. I feel like that adds to that list of do's and don'ts of that can maybe give us a false sense of security of, well, if I just don't do this, or I just do this, I'll be safe. And instead of that, I want to give people the skills so they can make the decisions that work best for them without feeling like they're having to constantly limit their lives and feeling like they have to do that in order to be safe, when we both know, and I'm sure many of the folks listening out there know, that violence doesn't always happen in the ways and the environments and the situations that we might envision as the most common. So
Mhm.
it's about having the skills so that no matter what we're facing, wherever we are, we have the confidence to be able to deal with it and the
Yeah,
skills to be able to
absolutely.
deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nicole, give us a little snapshot of how women are, how are they getting in touch with you now? How are they finding out more about your self-defense? How are they able to participate in what you're doing no matter where they live? Because, do they have to be physically within, the realm of where you're located to physically take one of your classes? Is it brick and mortar? Is it online? Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so with Girls Fight Back, I do virtual and in-person speaking engagement. So what I do is a seminar-based presentation where I can come to you in person now that restrictions are relaxing a bit and people are traveling and being in person. So I can come to you in person. I primarily go to groups, colleges, high schools, corporations, running retreats, groups, things like that. But I can also set up and do a private one-on-one with you, either in person or virtually. I'm also doing virtual presentations. I am just starting to open it up where I'm doing one-on-one sessions with folks if they want to do that. But most people are reaching out to me through my website. And then I run a series on Instagram and YouTube called Outdoor Defense, because I'm a huge enthusiast for the outdoors and nature and solo hiking and traveling and all of that. And so there were a lot of people that were concerned about traveling solo or hiking solo, and I wanted to give them some options and some skills and some things that they could keep in mind so they could feel confident doing that. And a lot of folks come to me from watching my series or following along on some of my adventures and saying, well, I want to be able to do that. I want to learn those skills so that I can feel confident in my own ability to defend myself when I'm out there. I just took a solo backpacking trip this weekend, and we were all out there, and it was just such an amazing time to be out in nature and wake up in the morning and smell the fresh air. And
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to try that and experience that, I want them to feel like they can. I don't want them to be afraid that they won't know what to do if something happens. If they encounter someone who has less than ideal intentions, I want them to know that they can still handle themselves. It's still possible.
And even if you're not running into someone, you still need to have the basic life skills to be able to survive out in the wilderness, right? So if
Oh
you're out
yeah.
camping by yourself, just the basic, needs of what you would have to do a solo backpacking trip. And I think that's great because women don't spend a lot of time alone, and spending more of that time alone gives us the opportunity to really like ourselves, fall in love with ourselves, and learn more about ourselves and what our likes are and dislikes are, and what we love about ourselves. And we don't spend enough time alone. And I know when I was traveling and spending a lot of time alone a few years ago, there was a lot I didn't like about myself, and I needed to, like, hey, if I'm going to hang out with myself, I need to figure out I need to figure out if I like myself. And so I changed a lot of things about myself because I wanted to become a better version of me. And we're constantly always looking for that better, version of ourselves. No one's saying you need to change, but if you want to have the opportunity to do that, you should be able to feel safe, when you're taking those trips. And so you talked about your Instagram channel. Again, tell us what's your Instagram channel and your Facebook channel again.
Yeah, my personal Instagram that I also do business through is Adventures of Nick, and that's
Okay.
Nik, Adventures of Nik. And then I also have Girls Fight Back on Instagram. Girls Fight Back is also on Facebook, just
Okay.
at Girls Fight Back. And then my website is NicoleSnell.com. And I want to hop on something that you said about it being like a life skill when you go, you have to have those wilderness skills. And that's something I say all the time, Colleen, is that self-defense is a life skill. It doesn't start with the physical. It starts with all of the other things. And those are the things we primarily use in our everyday life to defend ourselves and protect ourselves are the non-physical aspects of self-defense. But then when you also know how to physically defend yourself with your body, that adds a whole other layer of confidence. I also teach with Impact Personal Safety, and that's an in-person class that you can take locally to Los Angeles. We can also travel if you have a group or an organization, and we can travel there, but that's the full contact self-defense. Girls Fight Back teaches the basics and the introduction to it, and you learn some of the physical moves, but you're not actually hitting anyone. But with Impact, you actually get to learn the full contact moves against a fully padded instructor and really get those skills into your body, which I highly recommend. So whenever I do a Girls Fight Back event, I always suggest that folks follow up with an intensive, a full contact class where they're actually getting to get that muscle memory going in their body.
Yeah, I agree. So ladies, Nicole's going to be putting all of her information below in the comment section. So it's going to be there for you to reach out to her, whether it be through Facebook or Instagram or through her website. And I highly recommend, if you are a female that is in charge of putting together these types of activities for your corporate office, that you look into having Nicole come in and working with your female staff, especially, and bringing those skill sets to them. Or if you are just interested in getting a group together to be able to have Nicole come in, you can reach out to her directly. I can tell you that knowing these life skills and having these self-defense skills have completely changed my confidence in my life, like I know they have you as well, Nicole. So I highly recommend it to anyone who is looking at getting to learn more. And there's a lot you can do with Nicole just online individually as well. So you can reach out to her, and she does some stuff through her Instagram. I know she has some videos. So definitely follow her, start following her on Instagram, and get to know her more. So Nicole, any last words you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Yes, I just want to let every woman who's listening right now to know you are worth fighting for.
I love that. Yes, you guys are all worth fighting for. So Nicole, thanks for being with us on this Member Monday Spotlight. And you guys know how to reach her. So we'll talk to you later. Everyone have an awesome week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Bye.
You're so welcome. Bye, everybody.